All right, welcome to Mind Muscle class. Today we're focusing on our ankles and the long lunge hold. You can see the class is set up here, getting ready with their front foot set up on the rig. There are J cups underneath their feet, set up so that they're maybe a couple inches off the floor. That allows them to pull the front toe up. What they're doing is leaning back, squeezing their back butt cheek and opening their hip, and then leaning forward, squeezing their front hip flexors, keeping the front leg straight, and feeling a big stretch in the Achilles and the front hamstring. And the goal of this warm up is just to open up and explore the positions. So we're going to start by moving forward or back, and you can spend as much time in the forward position as you like or in the back position as you like over the course of the 45 seconds that you have programmed today. So move in, find a big stretch in the Achilles, and then as you move back, squeeze the back hip, drive the back hip open. And it's okay to embrace a bit of an arch as you work. Final point, as you go through the warm-up, you can bring the back leg further and further away, challenging yourself to get deeper and deeper into the lunge. Next, we're moving into a PVC pass through. My cue for these athletes was to try to keep their ribs down as they pass through. They're doing a okay job of that right now. um, but the focus on the ribs down will help to eliminate spinal movement, which is not terrible, but we're really focused on the shoulders opening at this point. So do your best to keep the ribs down, go as wide as you need, and keep the elbows straight through a couple of sticky reps. It's okay if the PVC doesn't fly forward and back, and you have to kind of fight to get it to go forward and back by relaxing or finding that right angle for you to make it the right amount of difficult to pass through. Going into a seated overhead hold. Started with Jenna here on the edge of the platform. That's going to make the hold easier. Her knees are up and her feet are flat on the floor. And from there, she's just going to reach overhead, thinking about almost ballet-like arms, finding a flat spine, which you can see in this profile position. Cool, no problem for Jenna. She's pretty mobile. From here, we brought her down to the floor. Okay, still got a flat back, totally doable. That looks fine. So can we make it a little more challenging by flipping her around? Now we're going to lift up the feet, and this should make it even more challenging. She was a really good sport here, fighting to hold an upright position, and you're going to feel this for sure in your hip flexors, which is what she was crying about right here. Find the ability level, or find the level that works for you. Elevate the hips as much as you need, even if it's 6, 10, 12 inches, in order to find a really nice overhead position as you go through this drill. Try to keep the chin tucked and think about length through the entire body as you work. going into the long lunge pulse. This is a cousin of the long lunge hold, but the focus is on the back glute. So you're going to get set up in as deep of a lunge as you can with the back toes tucked under. You're squeezing your back butt cheek as you hover your back knee over the floor for just a couple of moments. The back heel is pushing towards the back wall. It's important that you get longer instead of getting taller. So the knee should really only be able to come up a couple of inches. If it can come up much higher, then you're either going up in space instead of going longer or wider between the feet, or your feet just aren't far enough apart that it's challenging enough for you. So after this first set, I told the class, hey, a lot of you guys can focus a little more on pushing your back heel to the wall behind you so that you can get the intention of the stretch, which is to squeeze the hell out of your back glute and push the hip actively open. We're going to go into our EMOM now. You got three distinct movements. The first one is a Copenhagen side plank. This one doesn't involve a bench. It's not the standard Copenhagen plank, but it is a side plank that's focused on the inside of the hip. So you'll take a pad or something so that you're comfortable, set up just like a side plank, and then lift your bottom leg up. If that's not possible, or you all of a sudden feel like you have to change your position dramatically, then let your bottom knee hang on the floor or gently touch the floor to take a little bit of load out of the movement. The goal is to be pushing down with that top foot and feeling the inside of the hip work hard throughout the 20 seconds. Cozy straight leg lifts look like this. Your hip is on the rig, you lift your leg up, you try not to shift over, feel the outside of your hip start to burn a bit. And then the third movement is a pike pulse. Lean forward, find a tough angle that makes it hard to lift, and you're going to do 10 quick pulses, rest a moment, 10 quick pulses, rest a moment, and then a final 10, all within a minute. Those are your three movements for an EMOM of 9 minutes. You'll have to work kind of hard to finish all the movements in time, turning around, getting the opposite side, etc., and not dilly-dallying as you work through the 9. We're moving into an Achilles pulse plus hold. You're going to set up just like you did in your warm-up with the foot up on a surface so that you can push your shoulder towards the rig or towards that surface and feel an intensification of the stretch. So the toe is up. It's hard to see right now. Liz is in the way, but there it is. And you're kind of pulsing into a deeper stretch. And then after your 10th pulse, you're going to hold for 20 seconds. It's really important that the front knee be straight. So do not let that knee bend. It's going to take away the stretch. If you can bring your forehead all the way to your toe, then you win. But that's the goal, basically, is to get the head to the toe. But for now, since that's likely impossible, we're going to try to rock forward in space and intensify the stretch. So you're about to watch the class go. They're going to go 10 pulses, which I just counted out, 10, 9, 8, etc., about 1 second per pulse. And then they're holding the end range of that pulse for 20 seconds. Here are the tibialis raises. Just lean against the rig or against the wall. Lift your toes towards your shin until you feel your shin muscle working hard. You're going to do 10 reps and really, really fight to close the angle. And then you're going to hold the last rep for 20 seconds, making the shin burn as much as possible. Try not to let the knees bend at all. The further away you go from the rig, the harder the movement becomes. moving into an active hero. So for this, you'll want some help. You'll want some padding on the knees, and then you're going to take a band and set it up. It doesn't really matter. You'll see where, or you'll see why in a second, but you'll find the resistance that's right for you based on that height and length of the band. Find a kneeling position, and then tuck your tail aggressively. Pull your ribs down aggressively, and squeeze the heck out of your butt. That's a bad demo that I'm showing there. Lots of spine. Instead, we want this to just come from the hip, so you feel a massive quad stretch as you come down, and then you're going to kick through the floor like you're kicking someone in the shins and feel the quads work to help you back up. Enjoy the stretch in the bottom for as long as you need, and kick through the floor so that you then contract the stretched stuff in order to come back. Try not to pull on the band. Instead, find a length of resistance on the band that helps you enough, but you're not using your arms on the way back for assistance. You're just using the band resistance to help you back to the start position. Here is the Seiza Stretch. Seiza, I'm told, means seated in Japanese. And it is very simple. You're just sitting on your heels. You can look in the front here. Rafael has elevated his feet a little bit to make it slightly more intense. And in the back, you have Liz, who's just seated on the heels. If you need it to be even less intense, like that feels like too much, then you can always put a pad in between your butt and your heels. That will reduce the tension a little bit more. But your goal, just take some deep breaths. You probably feel a little stretch in the quad and a bunch of stretch in the front of the ankle. And the goal is to kind of open that up to improve ankle dorsiflexion. To finish, you are going to complete 90 seconds per side in a long lunge hold. The long lunge hold is really similar to the long lunge pulse, except instead of pulsing into reps, you're going to just hold the end range of what would be one pulse. And I'll show you a few variations that you can work on for this. The first would be just to put your hand on the PVC and use it for balance. The second would be to lift up the PVC. But it's important that you don't have to balance so much that you lose the intention, which is to get a good stretch in the front of your back hip and a good stretch in the hamstring of the front while squeezing the position. So I just showed option one. That's option two, but being careful not to balance. And option three, which many people took me up on, and I really like, super challenging, is to put the PVC overhead and hold like that. But you can see that my back knee is only a centimeter off the floor. That's what you want. A couple people in the class, their knees are a little too high, which means they're just not at their end range of their split. That will make the hold easier, but in terms of opening up position, we want to be at our absolute end range, or find our end range and then work as hard as we can in that end range. This is a cumulative goal, so you may break up the 90 seconds however you like. If you want to do 30 seconds on the right, 30 seconds on the left for 3 sets, or 2 of 45, or be an absolute beast and do the whole 90 seconds. It's up to you. Just don't let the quality suffer too much towards the last moments of each of your holds.